Hello everyone, it's Shannon here. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so thrilled to be joining Erica and Maria's 5K YouTube subscriber celebration. This video hop is going to be so awesome. It's all rainbow themed, and plus there are a bunch of giveaways. In this video, I'll be creating this rainbow watercolor card. This card features a foiled background in addition to the watercolor and plus those super cute unicorns. I'm going to start with this stencil here. This is the Dual Tone Stars stencil from Waffle Crafts, and I'm going to place the stencil over an A2 panel of Bristol Smooth cardstock. I'll place a couple pieces of tape down to hold the panel or hold the stencil in place, and then I'm going to use this transfer gel. This is by Therm. This is an older product, but the new product is called Transfer Gel Duo, and this product is really cool because it works well with stencils and it's very easy to get your foil to stick on top of this. So I'm just spreading this over that star stencil to kind of fill in all of those little star openings. Once I get it all covered, I'll then remove the stencil here, very carefully remove it to not mess up that gel, and I'll hold it to the camera real quick so you can see kind of the dimensional stars there. I'll set this aside to dry for about an hour till those stars are completely kind of clear. Right now they're a little opaque. Now we're going to move on to making our unicorns. This is the new unicorns stamp set from Waffle Crafts. I picked out two unicorns, and I'm going to stamp them onto this scrap of white cardstock in Memento Tuxedo Black. This is a Copic friendly ink because I'm going to do some Copic coloring, really simple Copic coloring. Now I'm going to incorporate the rainbow here on these unicorns as well. I'm going to do kind of the cooler tones on this rainbow's mane and tail. So I started with a purple, a blue, and then finished with the green, and now I'm just blending out the transition a little bit more. On the wings I have a couple yellows picked out, and then for the body of the unicorn I have a really light blue that I'm just kind of placing around to add a little shadow. Now moving on to the second unicorn, this one's going to have my warmer shades from the rainbow, so a pink, an orange, and a yellow. Then of course I plan to blend those out a little bit. Have two really light pinks picked out for the wings, and then again my really light blue for a little shadow on the belly or kind of the underside of the unicorn to give it some more shape. Now I have this stickles here that I'm going to paint on a little bit onto the wings. Somehow I've lost the squeezy part of the top of it, so I'm just going to use my paintbrush here to add a little bit so those wings are a little sparkly. Once I finish adding that glitter, I went ahead and die cut them out using the matching dies. I also stamped off camera some stars, colored those with a black Copic, and die cut those out as well. We're now going to move on to my sentiment. I have the Labelmaker rainbow sentiment here. This sentiment's really cool because all these label sentiments are one big stamp, so you just peel off that one stamp, ink them up, and stamp them, and then you can die cut them out with the matching die, and it'll die cut out all those sentiments at once, which is really handy. I kind of store all my leftover sentiments in my my storage bag, so they're always there. This is a really solid stamp though, so it does require you to kind of ink it up and stamp several times to make sure you got a nice, clean, crisp image. So there it is, all stamped out. Here's that matching die. As you can see here, it die cuts all of those sentiments out at once, which is again so cool and handy. Just used a couple pieces of micropore tape to hold it in place, ran it through my die cutting machine, and here we have a bunch of sentiment strips. I'm using actually 3 of them to create my sentiment. Now that my sentiments are done, I'm ready to move on back to that panel with the transfer gel. The transfer gel is now nice and dry. You can see the stars are transparent. I'm going to place my panel inside a big sheet of parchment paper that's folded. That's going to act as my carrier to feed my panel through my laminator. Then I'll place a transfer sheet on top. That's the foil, and this happens to be the iridescent foil from Therm. I really like this. It's a little bit different than silver. It has that kind of rainbow oil shine to it. Now I'm using my laminator today because again I'm using the older transfer gel, but the new transfer gel, the Transfer Gel Duo, doesn't require a laminator to transfer the foil onto. You can just kind of rub your foil sheet or your transfer sheet on top, and that will transfer the foil to your panel. So really cool that you don't have to use a laminator. Again, I had to because I was using the old transfer gel, the old formula. So now that my panel is the foil's all done, I'm going to move on to the watercoloring. I have a rainbow of Tombow Dual Brush Pens that I'm just really quickly, really loosely coloring at the top of my panel. Again, this is Bristol paper, so once I kind of add some water to those inks, they're really going to move. I'm going to spray them with my spray bottle, and then I'm going to grab my rocket air blower here and just kind of blow on that wet ink, wet color, and it'll just move those colors down the panel a little bit and create these really cool kind of drippy marks and lines, which is kind of what I'm going for. I want a looser, more kind of messy, I guess, kind of look. So now that I'm done with that top half, I'll let that dry a little bit. Once that's kind of dry, I'm now going to kind of repeat this process for the bottom half. Again, just coloring really quickly with my Tombow Dual Brush Pens, creating that same rainbow down below. Once I finish coloring it, I'll then grab my spray bottle, spray the ink, and then use my air blower to kind of blow and create those fun paint drips. And I found that the blue was not quite wet enough, so I added a little bit more water here and sprayed that, and then started to blow it around a little bit to get a little bit more movement from that color. So here's the panel all done. I'm going to let that dry completely. Now that the panel is completely dry, I have a little cleanup to do, so I'm going to grab my chamois, and it's just barely damp, and I'm going to very carefully clean any of the ink or color that I have on those foiled stars off, just to make them nice and shiny. Here is an A2 top folding white card base. I'm going to adhere my panel onto this. I'm going to grab some liquid glue, apply it to the back side. You can see it's warped a little bit, my panel is, but once I adhere it down onto the card base, it'll really straighten it out. So here it is all dry, nice and straight. We're ready to move on to all our little images and our sentiment. So I'm going to first arrange my sentiment here a little bit, then grab my unicorns and place them around my sentiment. Once I get everything in the right spot, I'll then grab a piece of press and seal to pick up all of the sentiments and the images, really get those stuck down, then carefully peel it back, and now I can start adding some foam adhesive to the back side of these images and my sentiments. So now that all the foam adhesive is on the back, I'll carefully remove the backing, and then I'll be ready to stick this guy down. So I'll turn it over. I lost that middle one, but that's okay, we'll just add it after I stick these ones down. Just kind of center it, looking through the press and seal to make sure I got them in the right spot. Press them down, and then I'm going to grab that middle one that kind of lost its stick and stick it down. For the stars, I've already gone ahead and added some foam adhesive to the back side of them, and now I'm just placing them around my sentiment just to add a little bit more, kind of that black, incorporating it a little bit more. And here's the finished card. Now hold my card up to the camera so you can get a good look at all the details in this card, especially that foiled background. I love that little iridescent shine, and the rainbow is just so pretty, such a perfect backdrop, I think, for those unicorns. I hope you guys enjoyed today's card and video. If you have any questions about the products I used, please check out the links below in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.